Welcome coin collectors, sparkles. Op sabhai ka hammery is amazing coin collection main dil si swagat high. Aj hum kuch a's historic Lincoln Wheat Pennies co-explore Karanj Joe American history, beautiful designs or fascinating minting stories apna andar samit Hugh Hain. Har coin surf accent nahai, bulky apna zamin kai xch hodi see historical memory high. In coins co deket whacked hum in kai design, mint mark, condition, rarity, varieties or collector interest key bar main janin. Kuch coins upni age kai wajasi interesting hain, kuch upni condition kai wajasi, or kuch main unusual varieties ya valuable characteristics by mil sakti hain. Isli har coin ko dihayan si observe karna bahat zaruri hai. To dasto, upni Nazarene coins par rakiai, Kyunki ho sakta hai x simple looking old penny key andar koi fascinating story chupi ho. Magnifying, let's explore these beautiful historic coins together and discover what makes each one special. Welcome to the wonderful world of coin collect. The 1952 Lincoln Wheat Penny with no mint mark is a classic United States 1-cent coin from the famous Lincoln Wheat Cent series, a series that was produced from 1909 through 1958. This particular coin was struck at the Philadelphia Mint, which traditionally did not place a mint mark on cents. The coin carries the familiar inscriptions "In God We Trust," "Liberty," 1952, "EPLURIBUS UNUM," 1 cent, and "United States of America." Because it belongs to the final decade of the wheat cent era, the 1952 issue is especially interesting to collectors who enjoy building complete Lincoln cent collections. The regular 1952 Philadelphia issue had a reported mintage of approximately 186,775,000 pieces, making it a collectible but not automatically rare coin. On the obverse, the coin features the famous portrait of Abraham Lincoln, facing to the right. Above Lincoln's head is the inscription, "In God We Trust," while "Liberty" appears to the left of his portrait and the date, 1952, appears to the right. The design was created by sculptor Victor David Brenner, whose Lincoln portrait became one of the most recognizable designs in American coinage. The Philadelphia version has no letter beneath the date, which is why collectors identify it as the no mint mark or Philadelphia variety. When examining an example, collectors should carefully inspect the date and the areas surrounding Lincoln's portrait for signs of doubling, unusual die characteristics, scratches, cleaning, or other abnormalities. A genuine 1952 Philadelphia cent should also have the overall characteristics expected from the wheat cent series. The reverse is what gives this coin its popular name, the Lincoln Wheat Penny or wheat cent. 2 wheat ears frame the central inscriptions 1 cent and United States of America. At the top is the Latin motto EPLURIBUS UNUM, meaning out of many, one. This wheat-ear reverse was used throughout the first half-century of the Lincoln cent series, from 1909 until 1958. In 1959, the United States Mint replaced the wheat reverse with the Lincoln Memorial design, making the 1952 coin part of the final years of the original wheat cent design. The physical specifications of the 1952 Philadelphia Lincoln cent are also important. The coin measures approximately 19 millimeters in diameter and weighs about 3.11 grams. It has a plain edge and was made from the traditional bronze alloy consisting of approximately 95% copper and 5% tin and zinc. This composition was characteristic of the regular Lincoln cents of this era, apart from the special wartime composition used during 1943. The copper-rich metal gives well-preserved examples their attractive reddish or reddish-brown appearance, while older circulated pieces commonly develop brown coloration as a result of oxidation, handling, storage conditions, and environmental exposure. The mintage of around 186.8 million means that the 1952 no mint mark cent should not automatically be described as an extremely rare coin. There are surviving examples in many grades, and ordinary circulated specimens can still be encountered by collectors. However, rarity in coin collecting is not determined only by the original number produced. The number of coins that survived, their condition, original color, strike quality, surface preservation, and collector demand all influence desirability. Professional grading information indicates that high-grade examples of the 1952 Philadelphia cent can be considerably more difficult to locate, particularly when collectors are searching for coins with exceptional surfaces and strong original color. One of the most important factors affecting the value of a 1952 Lincoln Wheat Penny is condition or grade. A heavily circulated example may show considerable wear on Lincoln's hair, cheek, jaw, and the wheat ears on the reverse. In higher grades, more original detail remains visible, and the coin may retain attractive reddish or red-brown coloration. Professional grading companies commonly categorize Lincoln cents by designations such as BN brown, RB red-brown, and RD red, depending on the amount of original red coloration remaining. A coin with outstanding preservation, original surfaces, strong strike, and attractive color can be much more desirable than an ordinary circulated example of the same date and mint. The 1952 issue is also interesting because the Philadelphia Mint produced both regular circulation cents and a separate proof issue. The regular no-mint mark circulation coin had a mintage of about 186.775 million, while the 1952 Philadelphia proof Lincoln cent had a much smaller reported mintage of 81,980 pieces. Proof coins were specially produced for collectors and can have sharper details and specially prepared surfaces. Therefore, collectors should not automatically assume that every 1952 no-mint mark cent is the same variety in terms of manufacture. A normal circulated or business strike coin and a proof coin have different characteristics and collectible markets. Another interesting aspect of the 1952 Lincoln cent is the existence of different mint varieties from the same year. Philadelphia produced the no-mint mark version, Denver produced the 1952 D, and San Francisco produced the 1952 S. The Denver issue had a much larger mintage of approximately 746.13 million, while the San Francisco issue had approximately 137.8 million. This means that a collector assembling a 1952 Lincoln Wheat Cent group would normally look for the Philadelphia no-mint mark coin as well as the Denver and San Francisco varieties. The absence of a mint mark on the coin described here is therefore an important identification feature rather than an error. Collectors should also be careful when hearing claims that every old wheat penny is worth hundreds or thousands of dollars. The date alone does not establish a high value. Most ordinary circulated 1952 Philadelphia cents are collectible primarily because of their age, historical importance, and place in the Lincoln Wheat Cent series. Much higher prices are generally associated with exceptional grades, attractive original red color, certified examples, unusual varieties, or significant mint errors. For example, PCGS records auction activity for very high-grade 1952 Philadelphia cents, demonstrating that condition can dramatically change the market value of an otherwise common date. One listed auction record reached several $1,000s for an exceptionally graded example, but that should not be interpreted as the normal value of an ordinary circulated coin. When searching for valuable characteristics, collectors should examine the coin under good lighting and avoid cleaning it. The surfaces should be checked for unusual doubling, off-center striking, die cracks, die chips, clipped planchets, abnormal lettering, or other genuine mint-made characteristics. However, ordinary scratches, dents, corrosion, stains, discoloration, or damage caused after the coin left the mint are generally not considered valuable mint errors. Cleaning can also reduce collector appeal because it may leave unnatural brightness, hairlines, or surface damage. For a potentially important variety or error, professional examination and certification can provide a much more reliable assessment than simply comparing photographs on the internet. The historical background of this coin makes it especially enjoyable to collect. In 1952, the United States was in the post-World War II period, and the Lincoln Wheat cent was already more than 4 decades old. Abraham Lincoln's portrait had been appearing on the cent since 1909, when the design was introduced to commemorate the centennial of Lincoln's birth. By the early 1950s, the wheat cent had become a familiar part of American commerce. The 1952 issue, therefore, represents not only a 1-cent denomination, but also a small piece of American monetary history from the final years of the classic wheat reverse. From a collector's perspective, the 1952 no-mint mark Lincoln Wheat Penny is a very interesting coin because it combines historical importance, a recognizable design, traditional copper composition, and a place in one of America's most popular coin series. Its lack of a mint mark tells us that it was struck at Philadelphia, and its wheat reverse identifies it as part of the 1909-1958 Lincoln Wheat cent era. While the coin is not automatically rare simply because it is old, a particularly attractive specimen with excellent preservation can be much more desirable. PCGS specifically notes that the Philadelphia 1952 cent becomes a condition rarity in very high grades, showing why collectors pay close attention to preservation rather than relying only on the date. In conclusion, the 1952 Lincoln Wheat Penny, no mint mark, is an important classic American coin that deserves a place in many wheat cent collections. It was struck at Philadelphia, has a mintage of approximately 186.775 million regular circulation pieces, weighs about 3.11 grams, measures about 19 millimeters, and contains the traditional 95% copper alloy used for Lincoln cents of this period. Its obverse presents Victor David Brenner's portrait of Abraham Lincoln with "In God We Trust, Liberty," and the date, while the reverse displays the iconic wheat ears surrounding 1 cent and United States of America, with EPLURIBUS UNUM above. For anyone who discovers one of these coins, the best approach is to identify the mint mark, examine the condition, preserve the original surfaces, and look for genuine varieties or errors before making any claim about value. An ordinary circulated 1952 no-mint mark wheat cent is generally a collectible vintage coin rather than an automatic fortune, but exceptional high-grade examples can be significantly more valuable. That combination of history, design, collectability, and potential condition rarity is what continues to make the 1952 Lincoln Wheat Penny an appealing coin for beginners and experienced collectors alike. The next up, top 2, the 1942 Lincoln Wheat Penny with no mint mark, is a classic United States 1-cent coin and an important piece from the famous Lincoln Wheat cent series, which was produced from 1909 through 1958. A 1942 penny without a mint mark was struck at the Philadelphia Mint, because Philadelphia coins of this period normally carried no mint letter. The coin features Abraham Lincoln on the obverse and the famous 2-tier design on the reverse. The inscriptions include "In God We Trust, Liberty, 1942, EPLURIBUS UNUM, 1 cent, and United States of America." The regular 1942 Philadelphia issue had a very large mintage of approximately 657,796,000 coins, so the date itself is not considered rare. However, high-grade examples, especially coins retaining attractive original red color and excellent surfaces, can be much more desirable to collectors. The obverse of this 1942 Lincoln Wheat Penny carries the famous portrait of Abraham Lincoln, facing toward the right. The design was created by Victor David Brenner, whose Lincoln portrait became one of the most recognizable designs in American coinage. Above Lincoln's head is the inscription "In God We Trust." The word "liberty" appears to the left of Lincoln's portrait, while the date, 1942, appears on the right. Because this particular coin has no mint mark, there should be no D or S beneath or near the date. That absence identifies the coin as the Philadelphia regular strike variety. The obverse should be examined carefully for wear, scratches, discoloration, doubling, and unusual die characteristics, because these details can affect both identification and collector interest. The reverse is the feature that gives this coin its popular name, the Lincoln Wheat Penny or wheat cent. Two wheat ears appear along the left and right sides of the design, surrounding the central inscriptions 1 cent and United States of America. At the top of the reverse is the Latin phrase e pluribus unum, generally translated as out of many, one. This wheat reverse was used throughout the original Lincoln cent era from 1909 until 1958. The wheat design is one of the main reasons these older cents remain so popular with collectors today. Even when an individual coin is not rare, the historic design makes it an attractive addition to a collection of United States cents. The physical specifications of the 1942 Philadelphia Lincoln cent are also important. The coin weighs approximately 3.11 grams, measures about 19 millimeters in diameter, and has a plain edge. It was made from the traditional bronze composition of approximately 95% copper and 5% tin and zinc. This copper-rich composition is responsible for the familiar reddish-brown appearance found on many surviving Lincoln wheat cents. Depending on how the coin was stored and handled over the decades, a 1942 cent can appear brown, reddish-brown, or retain a significant amount of its original red coloration. Collectors generally pay close attention to this color because original red examples in exceptional grades can be considerably more desirable than heavily toned or circulated pieces. The year 1942 is historically interesting because the United States was deeply involved in World War II. The Lincoln wheat cent was already more than 30 years old by this time, and millions of these copper cents were being used in everyday American commerce. The following year, the mint famously changed the composition of the 1 cent coin and produced the well-known 1943 steel cents because copper was needed for wartime purposes. Therefore, the 1942 penny represents one of the final regular years of the traditional pre-steel bronze Lincoln cent before the dramatic wartime change in composition. This historical connection gives the coin additional appeal beyond its face value of 1 cent. The 1942 Philadelphia issue is not considered a rare coin simply because of its age. With a reported mintage of 657,796,000 pieces, a large number were produced for circulation. The 1942 D and 1942 S varieties were also produced at the Denver and San Francisco mints, respectively. A no-mint mark example therefore belongs specifically to Philadelphia. Collectors building a complete Lincoln wheat cent collection often want examples from all three facilities, making the mint mark distinction important. The no-mint mark Philadelphia coin is usually one of the easier 1942 varieties to locate, although finding one in truly exceptional condition is a different matter. Condition is one of the biggest factors in determining the collectible value of a 1942 no-mint mark Lincoln cent. A heavily circulated coin may show considerable wear on Lincoln's hair, cheek, jawline, and the surrounding lettering. On the reverse, the wheat ears and lettering may also show significant wear. A coin in about uncirculated or mint state condition can preserve much sharper details. Collectors also classify copper Lincoln cents by color as BN, RB, or RD, meaning brown, red-brown, or red. An original red coin with strong luster, minimal marks, and excellent eye appeal can be substantially more desirable than an ordinary brown circulated specimen. Professional grading services can authenticate and grade particularly valuable examples. There is also an important reason collectors should inspect a 1942 Philadelphia cent carefully. Recognized double-die varieties exist for this issue. PCGS lists multiple 1942 Philadelphia Lincoln Cent double-die varieties, including FS varieties such as FS101, FS102, FS103, and FS104. These are not simply ordinary coins with scratches or damage. Genuine double dies are created during the die-making process and can display specific forms of doubling in areas of the design. Because some varieties can carry a premium, collectors should use good lighting and magnification when examining the date, lettering, and other design elements. A coin should not be called a double die merely because a photograph appears blurry or a letter looks unusual. Professional variety attribution is the safest method when significant value may be involved. The 1942 Philadelphia cent also had a proof issue, which is separate from the normal circulation strike. PCGS records approximately 32,600 proof examples for the year. Proof coins were specially manufactured for collectors and can display sharper details and specially prepared surfaces compared with ordinary business strikes. The 1942 proof is particularly interesting because it was part of the final pre-war run of regular United States proof coinage, before proof production was suspended during the war years. A normal 1942 no-mint mark cent found in circulation should not automatically be considered a proof, but collectors should be aware that both circulation and proof examples exist. When considering the value of a 1942 Lincoln Wheat Penny, it is very important not to assume that every old penny is worth hundreds or thousands of dollars. The date alone does not make this coin extremely rare. Most circulated examples have modest collector value, while exceptional uncirculated coins, original red examples, recognized varieties, and certified high-grade pieces can bring considerably more. PCGS records an auction result of $3,960 for an MS-68 RD 1942 Philadelphia cent, illustrating how dramatically exceptional condition can change the market for a coin that otherwise had a huge original mintage. That auction record represents an elite certified example, not the typical value of an ordinary circulated 1942 penny. The color and surface quality of a 1942 penny are especially important. A coin that still has attractive original red coloration may be far more interesting to a collector than one that has been cleaned or artificially brightened. Copper naturally changes color with age and environmental exposure, so a genuine old coin does not need to be bright orange to be valuable. In fact, harsh cleaning can reduce its desirability by creating scratches, unnatural shine, or altered surfaces. For this reason, collectors should generally avoid polishing or chemically cleaning an old Lincoln cent. Preserving the coin in its original state is usually a much better approach. The historical design also adds to the appeal of the coin. The Lincoln Wheat cent was introduced in 1909, and the portrait of Abraham Lincoln represented a major change in American coinage. The wheat reverse remained in production for nearly 50 years before being replaced by the Lincoln Memorial reverse in 1959. Therefore, a 1942 example belongs to a very recognizable chapter in United States numismatic history. It is old enough to connect modern collectors with the first half of the 20th century, while still being common enough that beginners can often find examples without spending a great deal of money. For someone examining a 1942 no mint mark cent, the first step is to confirm the date and mint mark status. Look directly beneath and around the date area and make sure there is no D or S mint mark. Next, inspect Lincoln's portrait, the lettering, and the wheat reverse for signs of unusual doubling or other possible mint-made varieties. After that, examine the overall condition. Look for scratches, dents, corrosion, cleaning, discoloration, missing details, and remaining original luster. Finally, check the weight and dimensions if authenticity is a concern. The standard specifications are approximately 3.11 grams and 19 millimeters, although normal measurement tolerances and wear can cause small differences. In conclusion, the 1942 Lincoln Wheat Penny with no mint mark is a historically important United States 1-cent coin struck at the Philadelphia Mint. It belongs to the Lincoln Wheat Cent series designed by Victor David Brenner and features Lincoln's portrait on the obverse and the classic wheatear reverse on the back. It weighs about 3.11 grams, measures approximately 19 millimeters, has a plain edge, and is composed primarily of copper. With a regular mintage of 657,796,000 pieces, it is not automatically a rare coin, but high-grade examples and recognized double-die varieties can be much more collectible. For collectors, the most exciting part of the 1942 no-mint mark Lincoln Wheat Penny is the possibility of finding an example with excellent preservation, original red color, strong details, or a genuine double-die variety. While most circulated pieces should be viewed as collectible historical coins rather than guaranteed treasures, exceptional specimens demonstrate why condition and variety are so important in numismatics. The coin's connection to the World War II era, its classic wheat reverse, its famous Abraham Lincoln portrait, and its place in the final years of the traditional bronze Lincoln cent make it a fascinating piece for both new and experienced collectors.